Look at me and tell me what you see. I look at you and tell you what I feel. Look at me and tell me what you see. I look at you and tell you what I feel.
It's a good day to be a Final Fantasy fan. Hello everybody, this is John Kill 3D Gaming here, and I want to talk about Final Fantasy Dissidia NT. This is the third in the Dissidia game series. The two games that began back on the PSP were one-off what-if fighting games, taking various characters from the Final Fantasy franchise and creating an original story to give a reason why all these characters are coming across each other, how they're crossing from world to world in time periods and different eras of Final Fantasy. Certain characters like Squall meeting Titus from Final Fantasy X, Cloud Strife coming against Lightning from Final Fantasy XIII. This game is very interesting with a healthy dose of characters, a healthy amount of content to help the game push until obviously further content will be coming after all. And I could tell it's going to be in more characters and story-based content. And yes, this game has a form of loot system, but it's not microtransaction based. It's actually in-game currency, and it's all cosmetic only, just like Dragon Ball FighterZ. And that must be commended that a game like this, fighting games seem to get loot boxes correct, where first-person shooters and action games really don't get that much credit on doing correctly. Now, character customization is very different. You don't customize character based on the skill points, which has been a tradition, or the sphere grid in certain Final Fantasy titles. This one, it's all based on cosmetics, weapons, and skill loadouts for when you head into battle. Now, with 29 characters, which is a good amount for a Final Fantasy fighting game compared to the other ones. I believe there's only up to 20 to 22 in the older games, and it's team-based combat of teams of 3, and you can mix your own teams together, which it's funny as hell seeing characters that we've always wanted to see either fight each other or fight beside each other, even mixing good guys and bad guys. But they also have good dialogues between each other, with story mode unable to be recorded and I can't show you. I'm going to explain to you how it works. You have to play arcade mode and online mode to unlock these memory tokens, which you can go to the story mode and then unlock the mission to play it or the cutscene. That is a very strange way to do your story mode in this game. It's weird. With the other two games, you just jump in and play every character's story in an arcadey fashion. This one here lets you play the multiplayer and the arcade modes, but it's not hard to do. It's not really hard to do. Whether you win or lose, you'll get the shard pieces to go to the campaign. I mean, the campaign, it's a good follow-up to the first two, but without spoiling anything, I'd say you should play it for yourself. And it has very minimal length cutscenes, because Final Fantasy is known, just like Metal Gear, to have long cutscenes of dialogue. But these get you straight to the point, straight into the action. Now the combat is fluid, it's fast, it's very simple yet difficult to master because there is a lot of strategy. It's just not having one character that can overpower the other. Certain characters have their strengths, weaknesses, speed, and abilities. Though similar control styles, like the way Dragon Ball FighterZ did its control style, this game is very similar in that aspect, but it's on a three-dimensional plane where you're flying around, jumping around, not only fighting the enemy, but also breaking these cores that appear in the middle of the battle to summon the classic Aeons from the Final Fantasy series. And these Aeons don't just give you a boost, like say if an enemy team is losing and they pull out an Aeon, it doesn't give them a victory. It makes everybody vulnerable. It's more of a light show and a boost ability than anything. Now, certain Aeons, like Ifrit, if I said his name correctly, he does have a little bit of a game-breaking aspect, but thank goodness he's not used that much online. If people want to use him to level up in the arcade mode, then that'd be the best way to go. And these levels are very detailed and faithful. Levels coming from all across the Final Fantasy timelines, coming from even the original games like from the Super Nintendo and the NES. Levels we didn't even see in three-dimensional depth. We get that here in these games. Now, not everybody, this game is not made for everyone, and I understand that. Final Fantasy Dissidia was not very mainstream, being that it started on the PSP. But this game, I feel, brings it into the main light, and if you're new to Final Fantasy or new to fighters, I think you'll enjoy this one too if you are willing to put in the time and practice. It's not as punishing as if you don't learn how to play For Honor, but it's not as easy. It's easy like Dragon Ball FighterZ, but it's not as easy to try to chain everything together. You really gotta learn. It has the fine balance between the two. Now, depending how you feel about this, about how to do the story mode, on how much you want to put time into this game has a very good replayability. Not infinite and not very little, but it just falls in the middle. I've seen plenty of reviews on this game, especially from the major gaming media outlets, so don't listen to people like IGN and GameSpot who misinterpret it, or they've actually spread misinformation in their reviews about this game. So Final Fantasy Dissidia NT, I feel, was a welcome return, a worthy entry, and one of the best fighters so far. I thought Dragon Ball FighterZ, it still remains my #1 fighter so far, but this game here comes in at #2 because it is very fun to play. If you're a Final Fantasy nut in a buff case, you're basically gonna get your feelings all through the roof and love what this game has to offer. It's not a main title. It's one of those spin-offs. Hey, Metal Gear Survive, this is how you do a fucking spin-off to your franchise. I had to throw a Metal Gear Survive gag in there, but this is how you do a spin-off franchise. And mind you, this game now has 3 games. 3. 2 PSPs and 1 console, or 1 cross-platformed one. Now, if they were to bring out the other 2 in an HD remaster and then one day packaged it with this game, I feel it would be the definitive Final Fantasy Dissidia game. Dissidia is a very underrated series, and I hope a lot of people now get into it. Or if you like Final Fantasy but you just don't like the length of the stories, play these games. They get you in and out. They give you recaps to every character. This game has a good amount of content, and I feel that this game is worth its asking price, and it's worth looking forward to the future content. New characters, new modes, new maps, and new story content along the way. So this is John with John Kill 3D Gaming, and I hope you guys give this game a recommendation.